Hi guys, Jonathan Chown here with JChownGolf at Crondon Park Golf Club in Essex, and today what we're talking about, we're going to talk about 3 root causes to swinging over the top. So 3 things that you could be doing in your golf swing that cause the over the top motion to happen. So this isn't just the physical look of it and doing a drill to really stop that, kind of stopping the effect of it, so the extra outward path. This is going to be something that's going to cause it at the root of it, so really where it starts to happen, the reason you swing over the top. And there are 3 main ones out there that I'm going to target in this video that I'm going to get to it, so you can understand exactly why you do swing over the top, because we need to understand the why we do it, and then we can target it with a drill. Then we'll actually end up fixing the problem. There's a lot of golfers out there who've had this problem for years and have never quite understood on why they do it. And as soon as you understand why, you can immediately put something into action and then fix it for good. So before we get into that and really dive into that, please make sure you like and you subscribe. It helps my channel out a ton, so please make sure you like. And if you want nice easy golf instruction, nice easy simple to follow, JChownGolf are out. Click that subscribe button, you won't be disappointed. So what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the first reason here, the first reason to swinging over the top. And this is really the most common one. This is one I've already discussed on my channel before. Now, this one's all about out of sequence downswings. So this is the first most common one I see out of these 3. Now, I'd say probably 90% of over the top people that come to me, rather if it's in person or online, it's usually this one is in there for vast majority of them. So you'll be getting at the top of the backswing and have an extra active upper body rotation to start the downswing. So really rotating that upper body far too much, far too early. And what that will do, that will always make your swing path look overly out to in. Because with rotation in the downswing, especially with our upper body, our hands end up getting out in front of us. Now that's not necessarily a bad move, but if we do it too much and too early, we are going to get a very over the top type of look. Our hands are going to shoot straight outwards. We're immediately going to swipe across the golf ball. So how can we do something to fix that? So ultimately, this is called out of sequence kind of turn in your downswing. So really we're moving in the wrong sequence. So to fix this, we've got to move in the right sequence. How many times can I say sequence in a sentence? A lot, obviously. So what we ideally want here, we want to move from the ground up. That's our sequencing the downswing we want to apply for this. So what we see with all the best players in the world, they will all be moving their lower body first. Their lower body will immediately initiate the downswing, and it'll always be a little shift onto their lead side, little rotation whilst they're doing it, and the last thing that really starts to rotate through is their upper body, and that will immediately give you the opposite type of look there of having that club falling a little bit more behind you. So that will immediately start to make it a little bit easier to swing less over the top. Now this is one where if you're looking on camera, and you can always look at when you're filming down the line from where this angle is, and you're looking, right, what part of my body is moving first in the downswing? If you're doing this after watching this video and you're looking at it and you can see that upper body have a noticeable first move, this is for you. This is your problem here. So yes, we know we want that lower body to start shifting onto the left side, start turning. We ultimately want the movement we're having with the upper body to transfer that into the lower body first. So we want that to move whilst that upper body is staying there. A little move we can do before we get onto a little drill with this, our friend the wall behind us, is a little feel. This is a video I've done before about a feel Justin Rose has about this very thing. Justin Rose is a golfer who can really get himself with his upper body, at times going a little bit too active in transition, throws his club out a little bit. So what Justin Rose will feel, he will feel like his zipper or his buttons on his chest, on his shirt there, are pointing behind him for as long as he possibly can in the downswing as he's swinging through. What that's going to do, that's going to keep the upper body very passive in the downswing. It's going to really prevent it from moving too overly out to it, and that's going to be a thought that's really going to help. So if I feel like I'm having my zipper on my body warmer here pointing behind me, pointing at the camera for as long as possible in the downswing, so I'm even going to try and think like it's still back there at impact. I want to over exaggerate it that much, because we know in reality it's still going to go, it's still going to get out. So let's keep that zipper pointing behind for as long as possible. And and then hit a nice kind of smooth draw down there. So that's a one to do with a golf ball to really work on this. But when we're working on this type of move, we kind of want one with a golf ball and one without, especially for an out of sequence type of move. So this is why we've got the old wall here. Now, with this wall here, what we ideally want to do, we want to get the club touching it. So you can see how I've swung. I'm just a little bit in front of that wall, and all I want to do here is I want to slide that club down the wall in my downswing and be rotating and turning through. As soon as I'm going to get myself swinging a little bit too much for the upper body first, see, I'm going to detach from the wall. That's not what I want to do. I want to slide it down whilst rotating. You can see there naturally how much my upper body is staying back. That's exactly what I want there. So sliding down. That is my favorite one for really in entirety of kind of like an out of sequence training type of drill. So we're training in a proper sequence. Even though that one's without a golf ball, that gives you a very, very distinct feel on what it feels like to get that club staying behind you and that upper body being more passive whilst the rest of the body is flipping through. So that's our first little bit. This is the most common one by far the most common one. Like I said, the vast majority of people come to me for lessons, this is the one they do. So for most of you guys out there, this is why this is the first, because this one will help you the most. Right, so that's our first one. Our next one is all about a position at the top of the backswing. This again is extremely common, that is still not amazingly covered that much on golf videos online, especially here on YouTube. It's not covered that often, so we're going to get into that. For a lot of you guys out there, this might be a light bulb moment. I'm thinking, oh, that's why I swing over the top. Something just as small and as simple as that, and as soon as you change it, a lot of you guys out there, I'd employ you to do this, it will immediately change your ball flight. So let's have a look at that one. So guys, number 2 reason to swinging over the top that I see most commonly on the lesson tee. And this is all, like I said, to do with top of the backswing position. And again, this is something I've covered before on my channel, and this is all about what's called depth at the top of the backswing. You can either think of it as lead arm depth, so the depth of our lead arm, or hand depth at the top of the backswing. So if we're talking about, let's say, hand depth, to be a little bit more descriptive on hand depth. So what that means is at the top of my backswing, it's the depth or relation to my hands to my body. You can see here, if my hands are very much over, let's say my shoulder region or my neck region near my head, that's a position of a lack of depth at the top of the backswing. And a position of a lot of depth is really in ultimate getting our hands a little bit more behind us. So where you can see now my hands are actually at the top of the backswing, they're a bit behind my body there. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, well, that's a flat backswing. That's what it did used to be called. A lot of it was a flat backswing. When I think of flat, I think of left arm being very, very across myself. So extremely, I think of like a Matt Kuchar, for example. We wouldn't necessarily say Rory McIlroy has a flat backswing, but Rory McIlroy has a lot of depth to his hands at the top of the backswing. Now, why this can cause over the top, I wouldn't say that depth to the hands, it's the lack of it which can cause this movement. So if I have at the top of the backswing here, a lack of depth to my hands at the top of the backswing. So you can see here, my hands here, very much over my shoulders, over my neck. You can see all of my right shoulder. Now, why that's a problem, because just like we said with the outer sequence, the first part of it, when at the very beginning we said when that upper body starts to turn and we start to move with rotation, the hands move outwards. Now, that happens in general when we turn in the downswing properly, when we have a good amount of rotation. Rotation brings things out in front of us, which again is not a bad move at all. We want rotation to be in there. So let's say if we had a lack of depth at the top of the backswing, very high hands here, if I just turn naturally and move like really good rotation, I shift properly, hands are immediately going to be pushed out in front of me, immediately. So we can see here, with only because I had a poor position at the top, I immediately looks like I'm swinging over the top, but I've just got a poor position at the top. I'm not doing anything poorly in the downswing, but that club is giving me an over the top type of look. If I get up here and then rotate, immediately it's extremely far out to in. So a lot of golfers on tour who make that specific move work, think of a Jason Day or a Justin Thomas, have this move in their golf swing, they would immediately lose their shoulder tilt, very much back, have a lot of side bend in there, because you can see immediately what that does to the club face or the shaft. it gets it pitching behind so it doesn't go so far outwards. That can put a lot of stress on the back as well, which is one of the reasons why Jason Day has back problems, is because he's going at such speed, hands really high. He knows that, or his body knows if he rotates, he's going to swipe across it, loses tilt, that at speed jars that lower back, it's painful. So what we see with a lot of golfers out there, and it's really, really common again, they'll get up here, they'll have a good downswing move, they'll swipe right across it just because of their top of the backswing position. So you can see if I'm getting more depth behind me, so I'm getting my hands a little bit more behind me at the top of the backswing, and I turn again naturally, immediately that club is much more under my control. It's not swinging over the top, it's falling on path. It's a very crucial thing to be able to swing on path and control our path more often than not. A lot of guys out there who don't, let's say top tour players again, who would want to shape the ball one way, they might not actually do the normal alignment type of deal for doing that. Let's say if they wanted to hit a draw, they wouldn't necessarily aim right, have the club face slightly close to their foot line and swing across, or swing across their foot line. What a lot of them would do, they would actually change the depth at the top of their backswing. They might swing more deeper, a lot deeper with their hands there to really get that into-out path. Because if I'm really deep behind me, so the flat type of look, that club is going to naturally be falling behind me in the downswing. So we can see if we over extreme it, we could actually get it swinging from into out naturally. Awesome that is. So that's for a lot of guys out there. Make sure you're getting those hands enough behind you, because if you're not, you're going to always be swinging over the top. You're always going to be swinging extra out to in, or you have to make compensations in there to get that club going back in there. That's what we see a lot of good players who do this. They manage to have compensations in there, very timing orientated, but they can make it work. But a lot of you golfers out there who struggle with over the top, you're not making those compensations, you're just continuing to turn. So how we get there, how we get that more depth at the top, it's not as simple as just forcing ourselves back there. We can do that, but then we'll be sacrificing all our structure of our arms and we could be running into bigger problems from that. What we ideally want, as soon as we start rotating our body, so you can see as soon as I rotate and really get a good nice turn, staying on top of the golf ball, my hands naturally go more behind me, they get deeper. So that's our move that we really want to do to be able to get this. Look, if as soon as I rotate my body, I'm just going to have my arms very limp and loose here. See how my hands, I'm not doing anything with my hands and arms. They immediately go around me. If I do an extreme top of the backswing position, we're doing nothing with my arms and hands. You can see how much it's governed by rotation, getting around us. So we see a lot of that with guys out there not turning enough. Now, some of you aren't as flexible as others, but if we're turning nicely with the hips, even we could be doing like an old Jack Nicklaus move, lifting up that left heel to enable us to have more hip rotation. We're going to end up getting more turn, and we're going to end up getting those hands more behind us as well. So for a lot of you guys out there, freeing up that hip turn is going to get you so your hands are ultimately more behind you, and then your good downswing move that some of you might have, you're just not in the best place to do it, it's going to work into better golf shots. So it's funny that, isn't it, how hip turn can influence over the top. It really can. So here I'm just going to hit a little clippy one, really just making sure I'm turning my hips so I'm really getting those hands behind it. I'm really wanting that depth to the hands at the top of the backswing. Again, I'm going to really over extreme that there. Nice drawy one again. So that's the second one there, guys, and that again is a very, very important one indeed, because that one is, you could be doing brilliant things in transition in a downswing. You could be rotating great, but if you haven't got enough depth, you're always going to be out to win through it unless you make compensations like a Jason Day, Justin Thomas. So make sure that that is in check. This is really a great one for anyone to know, is how lead arm depth or depth to the hands at the top of the backswing affects path. It's a brilliant one to even know, even if you're not swinging over the top. So that's our second one in there. So again, that's just behind the outer sequence one in importance. Next one is something that definitely I see still quite a bit, but it's not as common, but you're going to see straight away how this really affects that over the top move as well. And this is a downswing, backswing and a downswing kind of move. So this is going to be an interesting one. You can see again how a movement of the body is going to control and affect what that shaft's doing. So let's get into the third and final one. So guys, the last one, the third one we're getting into in this video. Of course, there are more ways to swing over the top than these three. These are just the most common ones I see out there. So the third one, and this is all about shoulders. This is all about your shoulders. So I'm not saying so much throwing your shoulder at it. That's the first one. That's you're really getting that upper body overreactive in the top of the downs, or the top of the backswing going into the downswing. This one is all about shoulder tilt. So this again is a topic that's not really discussed too much, and it's really going to make a massive effect on your downswing. So shoulder tilt, what that means is as we're swinging, see how I will have my lead shoulder lower than my right there. I'm tilted towards the ground. That is in essence shoulder tilt. Every good golfer out there has this nice shoulder tilt and is maintained in the downswing just until impact, that good shoulder tilt. So why that can be a problem at times for golfers if they're doing it improperly. So let's say, like we just said there, we want top of the backswing left shoulder to be lower because we're swinging at a golf ball on the ground. We've got to be tilted towards the golf ball and swinging around our body at the same time. We have to do that. We're not with a baseball up in the air and swinging at it, then we'd have flat shoulders. But this is that exact thing. If we get up to the top of the backswing and we flatten out our shoulders, so you can see they're very level, where my left shoulder is exactly level with my right. Because that golf ball's on the ground, what's my reaction going to be to get on top of that golf ball? See that? I'm going to have to regain my shoulder tilt. I'm going to have to get that left side lower because the golf ball's on the ground. And you can see immediately what's happening to the club face. It's getting thrown, or the club's getting thrown over the top type from that movement. So we can see because I need to hit the ball that's on the ground, from here, if I just continue to swing, whoosh, I'm going to go right over the top of the golf ball. So my reaction to get on top of it is going to have to be chuck that left shoulder down really fast to get my shoulder tilt massively over the top as a result of it. So we can see here, because of us losing shoulder tilt at the top of the backswing, we're going to have to regain it, which is going to throw the club outwards massively over the top. It's going to happen guaranteed. That movement is going to be very hard for you to never swing over the top. You just absolutely are going to get on top of that golf ball. So this is a one where you can't even really, what's the word? You can't even make up for it in a downswing, because you're at a place where if you don't compensate by doing this, you're going to miss the golf ball. You absolutely have to do it. So guys, what we're going to do, this is going to be kind of a more simpler one concept wise to get for this than the other two, is we just need to make sure that left shoulder is staying down, because that left shoulder staying down, we're not going to go even more and get even more down with that left shoulder. We're not going to go even more with our shoulder tilt. If we can keep it nicely on top of that golf ball, really that left shoulder lower, and we just turn a downswing, boom, that club falls on path better. It's exactly what we want. So a great little drill for this one, guys, to do. Club across the shoulders. Brilliant visual without a golf ball, this one, where we can just have our button of the club. You can see there how I'm getting it to point at the golf ball. It's exactly it. This is all we want. Very simple, where I've just got that club across my shoulders and I'm just turning, getting the button of the club to point at the golf ball. This is for the backswing, and then we can add a little downswing, keeping it at the same kind of tilted down, still having that button of the club lower, turning through. So really getting that backswing move in there. See, this one is one that is, if you're doing it, very, very fixable very fast, because we just got to make sure we understand that left shoulder needs to be lower. Immediately, the over the top goes after that one. That one's a very easy one. If I've got that for a lesson, I know we're going to have that over the top fixed within that hour, which is very unusual. Over the top is usually something that's very ingrained, takes a long time to fix, but with these kind of root causes, we know if they're targeted, they will get fixed over time. But this one is definitely, it's going to be a very happy student at the end of the lesson. So this is a very, very clear one. We just need that left shoulder lower. If it's not, if our left shoulder raises up at the top of the backswing, we regain it, over the top is happening. So we've had our drills here, really making sure I'm turning, getting that button of the club to look at the golf ball. Same thing again, just with the golf ball. Then we get our little drawy one down there again, nicely. So, 3 nice ways that we can fix this over the top. The 3 reasons out there, and 3 fixes for these reasons as well. So, we got to know when we are swinging over the top, guys. We have to know the root cause to it. There's no point of me doing any of these and doing a kind of over the top fixing drill. So let's say this is drills that I use all the time with students, but we need to know the root cause first with, let's say, basket alignment stick out of it. Great drill for fixing that overly path, that over out to in path. But let's say the first one, if we're still swinging out of sequence, we're still going to have a little bit of, when we take that away, over the top move. Or let's say our left arm is too high, our lead arm, our hands don't have enough depth. We have that basket out there. I'm still going to have to make compensations from that movement to miss that stick. And the last one, I could generally miss the golf ball, to be perfectly honest. I would top it probably more times than I wouldn't, because if I'm here and I'm trying to miss something that's kind of out there, that alignment stick, boom, I'm going to top the golf ball, probably miss it. So we're going to need to see those little elements need to be there before we work on something like that. Once we've got that root cause, then we can work on the root cause with a stick, like an avoidance drill, like I've done many times on my channel, and that will fix the problem for you. So guys, I hope this has really been really helpful for you, really informative. It's very much a grey area. I've overheard lessons at times where it's just not really been addressed too much, the actual reasoning for swinging over the top, but there is always a reason someone is doing it. You've got to address that before you work on the effect. So guys, found it helpful again, please press that like button, subscribe if you want those nice, easy to understand golf instructions, in-depth, tough topics that are really broken down, made it easy to understand. JChownGolf is where it's at, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video. So guys, after this video, when you're next down at driving range, have a little look at your swing, identify what is going wrong, what is causing you over the top, put a little plan in action, and you'll be able to fix it over the top in no time.